Hi guys, so today we're going to learn how to solve systems by elimination. So in this lesson, we will solve by a method known as the elimination method. The idea is that since our linear equations have two variables, we can't solve for our variables for x and y, right? But if we could get rid of or eliminate one of our variables, then we could solve for the leftover variable. Okay, so the steps are right here for solving systems by eliminations. First, we want to create a pair of same but opposite signed coefficients by multiplying either one or both of our equations. Second, we want to add the two equations to eliminate one of the variables, and because they are opposite signs, they will end up canceling each other out. Then we are left with one variable. We solve for that variable, and all we have to do is plug it back in to solve for the other variable. Okay, so let's get started. So here, my two equations for my system is negative 4x minus 2y equals negative 12. The other one is 4x plus 8y equals negative 24. Okay. So the first thing I want is I want a pair of same but opposite signed coefficients. Okay. So here, if I look at my x's, my coefficient here is negative 4 and positive 4. So here, they're the same number. They're both 4, and they are opposite signs. So this is what I am looking for in step 1. I want it to be the same variable, right? I want it to be the same coefficient, but opposite signs. If I don't, I'm going to end up multiplying one or both equations. Since I have that here, I can move on to my next step. Okay, so here it's important that you line everything up. So you want x's together, y's together, equals on top of each other, and then your constants together. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the two equations. Okay. So negative 4x plus 4x is now 0x. Okay, so really, it's as if it isn't there at all. Okay. Negative 2y plus 8y is a positive 6y, right? If I have negative 2, I add 8, I now have a positive 6. And then negative 12 plus negative 24 is negative 36. Okay, and really I didn't have to write the 0x, because if there are 0 x's, it's not there. And really all I have is 6y equals negative 36. Okay. And then all I have to do is get rid of the times 6 by dividing by 6. So I'm going to divide by 6 on both sides. Okay. And then here I have y equals negative 36 divided by 6 is negative 6. So now that I have y equals negative 6, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug it back in either here or here. It really doesn't matter which one you choose, it's still going to be the same. And I'm going to show you. Okay, so I'm going to plug it back in here. So negative 4x minus 2. And I'm going to plug in, instead of y, I'm going to plug in negative 6. Okay, equals negative 12. Okay, then I solve. So negative 2 times negative 12 is positive 12. Okay, so negative 4x plus 12 equals negative 12. Subtract 12 on both sides, so I get negative 4x by itself. And then get rid of the negative 4 by dividing by negative 4. And here I have x equals 6. You might be asking, but Miss Ng, what if instead of plugging it back into the first equation, I chose the second one? No problem. It is totally fine. It doesn't matter. You'll end up with the same thing because remember, a solution to the system makes both of the equations true. Okay, so even if I plugged it into this bottom one, so 4x plus 8, instead of y, since y equals negative 6, I'm going to put in negative 6 equals negative 24. Okay. I should still get the same answer. I should still get x equals 6. Okay, so 4x, 8 times negative 6 is negative 48. Okay. Here I'm going to add 48 to get rid of the minus 48. I get 4x equals 24. divide by 4 on both sides to get x by itself. I get x equals 6. So you can see whether I plug it in back to the first equation or the second equation, I still get the same answer. I still get x equals 6. Okay? So my answer is 6 for x, comma, negative 6. Okay? So here we can see no matter which one I plug it into, I still get the same thing. So 6 comma negative 6, and here is my answer. And then as always, I can plug it back in to check. Right? So let's try the next one here. Okay, so the first thing I want is I want same but opposite signed coefficient. So here for x, my coefficient is 3 for the top one and 2. They're not the same. Here I have 2 for the y and 5 for the y. They're not the same. So I'm going to make them the same by multiplying these equations. Okay? So it's up to you whether you want to get rid of x or y. It really doesn't matter. Okay? So here I'm going to choose to get rid of, I'm going to choose to get rid, to make the x's are the same. So 3 and 2, how I can make them the same is I can make it 6 and negative 6. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you make positive, which one you make negative. So here, I'm going to multiply the top one by 2. Okay, so that way I get 6x. And since I have 6x here, I want the bottom to be a negative 6. So I'm going to multiply it by a negative 3. Okay. I'm going to distribute it. Okay. So 2 times 3 here is 6, so 6x. 2 times 2 here is 4, so 4y. Okay, negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. So all I did is I took this 2 and I distributed it to everything here. Okay, so I got 6x plus 4y equals negative 12. Okay, then the bottom, I want it to be negative 6x. So in order to make the 2 a negative 6, I'm going to multiply by negative 3. And when I do, I get negative 6x. 5y times negative 3 is a negative 15y. And 7 times negative 3 is a negative 21. Okay, now I have my same but opposite signed coefficient. So 6x and negative 6x. Okay. So then I move on to step 2. I'm going to add them. Okay. So 6x minus 6x is 0x, so that's gone. 4y minus 15y is negative 9y. And negative 12 minus 21 is negative 33. Oh, sorry, this should be a negative 11. Negative 11y. Okay. Then I'm going to get rid of the negative 11 that's being multiplied by dividing by negative 11. Okay. And this leaves me with a positive 1y equals negative 33 divided by negative 11, a positive 3. Okay. Now that I have y equals 3, I'm going to take it and I'm going to plug it back in. Okay. I already showed you earlier that it didn't matter which one you plug it into, so I'm going to just do the first one. So 3x plus 2, y is now 3, so I'm going to plug in that 3 in for y. And I'm going to solve for that x. So 2 times 3 is 6, so 3x plus 6 equals negative 6. Get rid of the plus 6 by subtracting 6, so 3x equals negative 12. This is 3 times x, so get rid of the times 3 by dividing by 3. And I get x equals negative 4. Okay. If you're unsure about your answer, you can plug it back in and check. Okay, so here my answer is negative 4 comma 3. Okay. If I plug it in, both of them work. Okay. So let's try the next one. So let's flip. So here I have negative 2x minus 9y equals negative 25. And here I have negative 4x minus 9y equals negative 23. So here I already see that both of the y's have a negative 9. So really all I have to do is multiply one of them by negative 1 to make it positive. So all I'm going to do is multiply this one here by a negative 1. Okay. and change it. Okay, so the top one stays the same as negative 2x minus 9y equals negative 25. The bottom one, since they're both negative 9 here, I'm going to just multiply this whole bottom equation by a negative 1. And what that does is it changes the sign. It gives me a positive 4x now, a positive 9y, so that I have that opposite sign. Okay, and then equals a positive 23. Okay. So now I have that same but opposite sign coefficient, right? I have a negative 9 and a positive 9 for the y. Okay, once I have that, step 2 tells me to add it. So negative 2x plus 4x is positive 2x. Negative 9y plus 9y, there is no more y's left. And then negative 25 plus 23 is a negative 2. Okay. Then since this is 2 times x, I'm going to get rid of it by dividing by 2. And I get x equals negative 1. Okay. And since x equals negative 1, I'm going to plug it back in. Again, it doesn't matter which one you plug it into. So I'm going to just plug it into the first one. So I replaced that x with negative 1. So negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. Minus 9y equals negative 25. Okay. Since this is a positive 2, I'm going to move it over by subtracting 2. This gives me negative 9y equals negative 27. Okay. And then get rid of the times negative 9 by dividing by negative 9. And this gives me y equals 3. Okay. And so my answer here is x is negative 1, y is 3. And so my solution is negative 1 comma 3. Okay. And then again, if I wanted to check my answer, all I have to do is plug back in. Okay, let's try the next one here. So 2x plus 8y equals 6. Negative 5x minus 20y equals negative 15. So here for my x's, I have 2 and negative 5, so not the same. For my y's, I have 8 and negative 20, so not the same. So we're going to multiply now to make them the same. So up to you whether you want to do x or y's. Right? So here, I'm going to choose x's. So 2 and negative 5, I can do 10. Right? So I'm going to multiply them so that that way they're 10 and negative 10. So here on the top one, I'm going to multiply by a 5. Right? Because 2 times 5 will give me 10. And the bottom one here, to make it 10, I'm going to multiply it by 2. Okay, so multiply. Right. So on top, 2 times 5 will give me 10x. 8 times 5 will give me 40y. And then 6 times 5 will give me 30. On the bottom, negative 5 times 2 is a negative 10x. Negative 20 times 2 will give me a negative 40y. And then a negative 15 times a 2 will give me negative 30. Then, now that I have same but opposite signed coefficients, right, 10 for the x and negative 10 for the x, same number, 10, opposite sign, one's positive, one's negative. Now I can add them. Okay, so 10 minus 10x is 0x. 40y minus 40y is 0 y's now. 30 minus 30 is 0. So if I have 0 x's and 0 y's, that means I have nothing. 0 equals 0. When we solved equations and we came up with a statement like this, right? 2 equals 2, 4 equals 4, negative 5 equals negative 5, or in this case, 0 equals 0, what this means is that it is infinitely many solutions. What that means is if we were to graph this, they would be the exact same line. Okay? And we can check that by changing this into slope-intercept form. Right? So if I took my 2x plus 8y equals 6 and I solved for x, right, by subtracting 2x, giving me 8y equals negative 2x plus 6. Right, and then dividing by 8 to get y by itself. So I get y equals negative 2 divided by 8 is negative 1/4 x. 6 divided by 8 is 3/4. Okay. This is it in slope-intercept form, the first equation. And if I did it with the second equation, if I did negative 5x minus 20y equals negative 15 and did the same thing, so added 5x on both sides to get y by itself. So leaving me with negative 20y equals 5x minus 15. Okay, and then getting rid of the negative 20 by dividing by negative 20. 5 times negative 20 is negative 1/4 x. Negative 15 divided by negative 20 is a positive 3/4. What we can see is that they have the same equation. They have the same slope. They have the same y-intercept. They are the same line. As a result, they touch everywhere on that line, which is why there are infinitely many solutions. Okay? That's it for today. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.